The Columbus Blue Jackets are struggling for consistency early in the season. Jay Forster of Locked On Blue Jackets is here to tell us what they have to do to get back on track. All that and more on today's Locked On NHL podcast.
You're Locked On NHL, your daily podcast on the National Hockey League. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
To the Monday edition of the Locked On NHL podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to thank everyone who makes Locked On NHL your first listen every day. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts so you can get new episodes as soon as they drop. And now you can find us on SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just do a search for Locked On NHL. Today's episode is brought to you by Sleeper. Download the Sleeper app and use promo code LOCKEDONNHL to get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. It is my pleasure to welcome back to the show a familiar face to Locked On NHL viewers and a familiar voice for Locked On NHL listeners, Jay Forster of Locked On Blue Jackets. And Jay, not the greatest start for the Blue Jackets. A lot of inconsistency. What's going on?
Yeah, and that's kind of the thing, isn't it? This is a very, very young team. This is a team with a lot of new moving parts and a brand new head coach that took the job, I think, 4 days before training camp started. We don't need to get into all of the drama about that, but this is kind of what I think should have been expected, and I was kind of blinded by the shiny new toy energy of Adam Fantilli and Pascal Vincent saying all the right things, and like, the team isn't bad. The team is playing much better than last year, but it's growing pains. You know, it's you can kind of see. You can see how young this team is. You can see even some of the older players, the veteran players, Damon Severson, Ivan Provorov, they're playing in new systems. They're learning how these new systems work, So maybe I should have been more expected for inconsistency than I was. But like looking back and thinking about it, like this is about what I expected. I think the thing that frustrates me the most at the minute is it feels like either the Blue Jackets have a good night offensively, or they have a good night defensively, or they have a good night in goal. Sometimes they have two of those three, but I don't think I've seen a game yet where all three positions have shown up for the Blue Jackets. And so I think that's what's really frustrating is they have all of the pieces, they just can't seem to fit them together in the right way for 60 minutes yet.
Yeah, and then we sort of see instances where, for example, they'll take a 2-0 lead and then end up losing the game. Inconsistency even within a period or a game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. I've seen so many Blue Jackets games this season that are like, wow, that first period was amazing. Oh, the second period was real bad. Oh, the third period was really good again. Or, we see like 40 minutes of really solid hockey from these guys and then 20 minutes where it just kind of falls apart. And I get it. That's, again, young team. I think the second youngest team in the NHL. But God, it's annoying to watch sometimes. I will say, to give them credit, like, they look so much better than last season. And whether that's because they're healthy, because Pascal Vincent is kind of putting the right players together and is kind of taking steps forward. I'm seeing competitive hockey from a lot of the players. And for periods of time, you're seeing what I don't think we saw at all last season, which is like, this looks like a team that wants to win. They just haven't quite taken the final steps yet, and it feels like when they do figure it out, this team is going to be a whole lot of fun and it's going to be real good. They just have to figure it out.
Talk to me about Adam Fantilli. I mean, such high expectations. Third on the team in scoring, not off to a bad start. How does he look so far to you?
I tried so hard to temper my expectations for Adam Fantilli going into this season because I've seen it before where people get really excited about a player and he's never going to live up to those expectations. Adam Fantilli is not scoring as much as I think a lot of people wanted him to, especially with the news of, Leo Carlsson just got his first career hat trick. Connor Bedard, I think at the time of recording this, has like 6 points in his last 2 games or something insane like that. Adam Fantilli is consistently the best player on whatever line he's playing on. He is driving the offense. He is making these little plays. He's not scoring, but that will come. He's not necessarily passing to. He's not getting as many assists as I think he will. The team needs to figure out what the best combination of players to put with Adam Fantilli is. But so far, he is exceeding expectations. I'm so impressed with how he looks. And he's getting better every game. You can almost like physically see him figure things out sometimes of like, oh, this worked in college, but it doesn't work here. Let me try that again, but do something else. And it works the next time. And he's just so fun to watch. I'm so happy with Adam Fantilli.
Now, one player who's very frustrated right now, Johnny Gaudreau, actually even benched during a game. Talk to me about his struggles and, how are they trying to get him back on track?
There's something up with Johnny Gaudreau this season, and I'm not sure what it is, and I don't want to like speculate about players' health or players' personal lives or anything like that, but he just doesn't look like the Johnny Gaudreau we got last season or the Johnny Gaudreau that they had in Calgary the year before that, and I don't know what it is, and I can't quite figure it out, but he's not scoring, which is not necessarily a bad thing because he's more of a playmaker anyway, and like there's just something's not right with Gaudreau at the minute, and I can't figure out what it is. He's struggling big time. And the benching was a big thing of like, wow, why are you benching your $9.5 million player? Blah blah blah. I was okay with it. In hindsight, Pascal Vincent is doing this new thing where he like holds everybody accountable regardless of who you are. There was a whole big drama about Kent Johnson getting a new agent and then getting sent down to Cleveland, and everyone immediately lost their minds about how Kent Johnson was going to demand a trade, and he's benched Damon Severson for periods of time. He's not afraid to bench long tenured NHL players, despite the fact that he's been a head coach for about 5 minutes, in the grand scheme of things. So it's I don't love that we have to bench Johnny Gaudreau. I don't think he was playing badly, but the way that Pascal Vincent has kind of conducted himself thus far into the season, the things he says, the things he does, like I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. He knows a lot more about hockey than I do, after all. So if he thinks that Johnny Gaudreau needed benching, then sure, okay, Pascal. Something needs to switch up with Johnny. I don't know what it is, whether it's line mates, whether it's ice time, whether it's like matchups, I don't know, but there's something. I just keep coming back to that. Like something feels off about Gaudreau that I can't put my finger on. It does worry me a little bit.
How did he respond to the benching?
I believe he scored a goal in his next game. Admittedly, it was an empty netter, but hey, they don't ask how, they ask how many. He's kind of cooled off a little bit again since then. I don't know that he's being used to his full advantage with the lineup the way it is at the minute. Pascal Vincent has either been playing him. He's mostly stuck Boone Jenner with him, which I like that as a duo. But his other winger has either been Jack Roslovic, who is such a hot and cold player, who is in a real cold streak at the minute after a couple of games of being really hot, or Patrick Laine, who I know everyone got really excited about the Gaudreau-Laine matchup, but those players don't seem to gel, which that's fine. Players don't. And I think if you split them up, then you can have 2 even more balanced lines. But he's not really being put in a position to succeed at the minute. And I know there's an argument of like, well, he's been paid, what is it, $9.75 million, I think is how much he's making. He should be able to figure it out without being put in a position to succeed. But like, if you're paying that much money for a player, why would you not want to make it as easy as possible for him? So he'll figure it out. Players have slow starts. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes on a real hot streak, maybe, in the next couple of weeks, and you see kind of a return to Johnny Gaudreau. And with that, probably what you will see is everything else will kind of get bumped up as well, because usually when your star players are producing, everyone else kind of follows suit.
What are the keys to righting the ship right now and getting this team back on track?
100%. Yeah, there's a bunch of different things that have kind of gone on, and I think a lot of it is, again, we go back to growing pains, we go back to new head coach, we go back to Pascal Vincent figuring out what the best combination of players is. And I think he's made some really good decisions in some places, and I think he's made some not so good decisions in other places. As of the time of recording this, the Blue Jackets drop the puck in about 2 hours, and we don't know what the lineup for that game is yet. So, like, we'll see. Maybe that'll change. But I think there are some lines that maybe aren't working that he needs to switch up. There are some lines I think he should keep. I think goaltending is a big thing. The goaltending, again, I don't think it's been bad. It's been better than last season, but like that was a low bar to clear. I don't think it's been as bad as some of the more dramatic members of the Blue Jackets fan base and people on Twitter have kind of been saying. But I would like the goaltending to be just a little bit better. Or failing that, I would like games where, again, this kind of goes back to what we talked about earlier. I would love a game where the defense and the goaltending and the scoring all showed up in the same game, because right now it feels like the Blue Jackets are either winning games 5-4, or they're losing games 5-4, or they're winning games like 2-1, but their goalie is making like 41 or 42 saves while they're getting 20 shots a game. So like, would love for everyone to turn up at once. And I think when they figure out the kind of the weird wonkiness that the defense is going through right now, I think the goaltending will rebound a little bit, but there's nothing like, I spent a lot of time last season looking at this team and being like, wow, there are a lot of things wrong here. We have to really work to kind of, we have to tear this house down and start again, you know? But I'm looking at this season, I'm like, okay, this house has good bones, you know? Pascal Vincent has things to build on. He's got a solid foundation. I'm not worried yet. If we're still having this conversation in like a month's time, then I might start to worry. But right now, I'm like, yeah, all of this makes sense. I wish it would come together just a little bit sooner than it is.
Well, we'll keep an eye on that for sure. Jay, why don't you tell our viewers and our listeners where they could find the podcast and where they could find you on social media?
So you can find me at _Jacob Forster, JAKOBFORSTER on Twitter. You can find the show at LO_Blue Jackets over on Twitter. We're on YouTube. We're on every podcasting app you can possibly think of. Wherever you find Locked On NHL, you can find Locked On Blue Jackets there as well. And one day soon, we will have an episode where we get to talk about a win. I truly believe this.
All right, Jay, thank you so much. Always a pleasure.
Thanks for having me, Gil.
Today's episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers.